ABC6 investigates Columbus City Schools paying out millions in overtime. Tonight, investigator Brooks Jarosz asks why the biggest chunk of cash is going to school bus drivers.
With more than 700 routes, Columbus City school buses are busy. It's easy to see after ABC6 investigators uncovered expenses and payouts for employees. In total, $8 million in overtime, with $6 million spent on transportation.
Anything after the bell rings at night is overtime. Anything.
We questioned Transportation Director Steve Simmons. He says most bus drivers are protected under a union contract, giving them 10 hours to drive beginning the moment they clock in. Even if they aren't on the road, anything after 10 hours is overtime.
Just that alone, they could make 4 or 5 hours of overtime every day, just making sure our students were home and school safely and on time.
Is that normal?
When you're short drivers, that is normal to have all hands on deck to drive.
For comparison, we looked at other districts in the state of similar size. Cleveland paid out about $1.5 million in overtime to transportation staff. Cincinnati has a contract with an outside vendor, but district-wide only spent $1 million in overtime. Columbus spent nearly $6 million just on transportation overtime.
That's definitely a red flag.
We showed our findings to Stephen Dyer, who works for think tank Innovation Ohio and specializes in education policy. A bus driver typically makes $30,000, just a little more than the national average. Still, he doesn't like what he sees.
The concern is not that bus drivers are making a bunch of money. The concern is, why is so much of that money coming from overtime?
$6 million in overtime. Is that a lot to you?
$1 of overtime is a lot to me. But again, contractually, we have to do that for our drivers.
Simmons calls last year an exception since the district added hundreds of new routes and needed to hire 300 new bus drivers.
Don't forget, this whole thing is about safety.
Training classes are intense. 5 weeks with only half of the people interviewed actually becoming bus drivers. A major reason why across the state there's a driver shortage.
I think some people just think that you come in here, you just get behind the wheel and you start driving.
G. Jamal Ford has spent years behind the wheel and now trains others to be responsible and careful drivers.
Safety is the key here.
He says there are lots of reasons people decide to drive for Columbus City Schools.
Some people are here for, the benefits. Some people like the schedule.
We found last year one transportation supervisor added $36 grand to her salary, which took her to $101,000 for the year. And nearly 50 other drivers or supervisors made more than $15,000 in overtime.
That would tell me that there are some efficiency issues that might need to be addressed.
The district says an outside bus company became too expensive. It wants to save $2 million a year by doing the driving. Still, the total budget for transportation is $55 million.
We constantly look at reducing our routes, which saves money to the district. Because if transportation can save money, that means we can drive those funds back into the classroom, which helps educate the students.
Are you confident that has already happened?
We work on that on a daily basis here. I am very confident of that.
The school district says hiring more drivers and paying benefits would actually be more costly than simply budgeting and planning on millions in overtime. Yolanda?
All right, thank you, Brooks. And if you have a tip for Brooks Jarosz and the ABC6 investigators, give them a call at 255-NEWS, or you can send an email to tips@abc6onyourside.com. They're also on Facebook and Twitter.